Hello guys, welcome back to Cloud Exam Ready. So let's see another question for Solution Architect Associate Exam. So this question will also be on cost saving, and the flow of this video will be we will see the question first and then I will explain the question, like overview of the question, and then we will see the options and I will explain each options, which one is correct and which one is not. And at the end, I will provide you the tip for the exam. So please stay with me till the end. So let's get started. So the question is, a video game company is launching a new game that uses Amazon DynamoDB to track the user's game state. The company hosts the game in an Amazon Virtual Private Cloud VPC that consists of a public and private subnet. A service running on an EC2 instance in the private subnet needs to access the DynamoDB database. What steps can the solution architect take to ensure cost-effective network architecture when setting up this VPC? So we have the options. Option A is use a gateway VPC endpoint to route a request from the private subnet to the DynamoDB database. Option B is create a NAT gateway in the public subnet and route request from the private subnet to DynamoDB database through the NAT gateway. Option C is launch the EC2 instance running the service needing DynamoDB access to the public subnet instead of the private subnet. Option D, create a NAT instance in the public subnet and route request from the private subnet to DynamoDB database through the NAT instance. So first, let's understand the question. So let's understand the problem. So this one is, the question is about a gaming company. A gaming company uses DynamoDB to track player game state or stats. They have a VPC with public subnet and a private subnet and EC2 instance in the private subnet that needs to access DynamoDB. The key here is that the DynamoDB is the AWS managed service, so it lives outside the VPC on your AWS global network. So the question asks, how do you give the private EC2 instance access to the DynamoDB without paying unnecessary data transfer charges? So let's see the diagram. So usually we have this AWS account 1 and AWS account 2, and we have VPC A and VPC B. And if we check here, we have under VPC there is one availability zone, and under that availability zone we have private subnet and private subnet and public subnet. So in both of them we have a EC2 instance, and outside this VPC we have these services which are on a global network, which includes Amazon S3, Amazon DynamoDB, and Amazon Kinesis data stream and other AWS services. So to access this Amazon DynamoDB, so what currently is happening is this EC2 instance, it will go to the NAT gateway and then to the internet gateway, and then from internet gateway it will communicate to the Amazon DynamoDB, and then it will go back in the same flow. So in this case, we are going on the internet and then coming back to the AWS, right? So we need to give a solution so that the company can save the money for this. So let's see one by one options. So first one is option B, which says NAT gateway in a public subnet. So let's see the options. This one. So option B was create a NAT gateway in a public subnet and route request from the private subnet to DynamoDB database. through the NAT gateway. Okay, so they want to create a NAT gateway in public subnet. So which one I have explained. So they want to create a NAT gateway which will be under public subnet, and they want to communicate this EC2 instance through the NAT gateway to Amazon DynamoDB. Okay, so in this case the traffic goes from private EC2 to NAT gateway to public internet, as we have seen in the previous diagram, and then it will go to the DynamoDB. So you pay NAT gateway hourly fees plus per GB data processing fees also. You are literally sending traffic out to the internet just to come back to AWS, which will be expensive and inefficient. Okay, so next we will see option number D, which is NAT instance instead of NAT gateway. Okay, so let's see the option. So the option number D, we have seen the option number B. So next is option number D, which is create a NAT instance in the public subnet and route request from the private subnet to DynamoDB database through the NAT instance. Okay, so in the B option we were creating NAT gateway, and on the D option we are creating NAT instance. Both are in public subnet, and it will route the request from the private subnet to DynamoDB database through NAT gateway in the option number B, and in the option number D we have NAT instance. Okay, so it is the same idea as B, but cheaper hourly. It will be cheaper than B option. Still you are routing through the internet, but still we are going in the same way, like EC2 instance communicate with NAT gateway and NAT instance in this option number D, and then it will go to the public internet, and then it will go back in the same way. So we are still paying data transfer out to the internet. So any data we are transferring out to the internet, we need to pay for, plus NAT instance in single point of failure unless you build complex automation. So this option is seems expensive. Next is option number C. So option number C says launch EC2 in public subnet. So let's see the option first. So here option number C says launch the EC2 instance running the service needing DynamoDB access in the public subnet instead of private subnet. So they are asking us to launch the EC2 instance running the service needing. So we need to launch the instance, and then we will run the service which we need DynamoDB access in a public subnet instead of private subnet. So if you see here in the diagram, so they are asking to build or create EC2 instance in the public subnet, and it will directly communicate to the Amazon DynamoDB. So in this case we do not need the NAT gateway or NAT instance on public subnet. So here sure we can do it, but now it can reach DynamoDB via the internet gateway, but your game service is now exposed directly to the public internet. So the service which is installed on the EC2 instance will directly be exposed to the public internet now. So it will cause a security risk, and no one puts backend databases in the public subnet. So usually in the companies, no one usually put the backend databases in the public subnet. Okay, so we are left with the one option which is option number A. So let's see the option first. So option says use a gateway VPC endpoint to route request from the private subnet to the DynamoDB database. Okay, so let's see the explanation. So gateway VPC endpoint for DynamoDB. So this creates a private connection from your VPC directly to DynamoDB. Traffic never leaves AWS internal network. No NAT, no internet gateway, no data transfer charges. just tiny hourly fees for the endpoint itself. So in this case, we just need to pay, I think $0.01 is the fees for using the endpoints. So we can save lots of money. So in this case, the option number A is the correct option. Okay. So next is like tip for the exam. So gateway VPC endpoints are free for data transfer. You can only pay for the endpoints around 0.01. I told you like it's $0.01 per hour per availability zone. And for Amazon S3 and Amazon DynamoDB, the only two services that supports the gateway endpoint. So always prefer them over NAT for private subnet access. It's faster, more secure and cheap. So whenever the question is asking for the cost optimization for DynamoDB or S3, we should always go for the VPC endpoint. VPC endpoint is the fastest, more secure and cheaper. So this was the tip. So next, like in the last video, we have seen a similar question. So I'm just showing the question. I will put the link for the video. You can just watch the video and like watch the explanation from that video. So this is the question. You can just read it and challenge it and like comment below the answer if you know. Thank you. That's all for the video.